Hi everybody. Today we're going to talk about a very serious topic, human trafficking and what financial institutions can do about it. I recently had Sarah Crow from the Polaris Project on the Payments Podium podcast. That's the Payments Professors podcast. Please go check it out. On the podcast, Sarah shared her experience and how she and others have been able to help combat human trafficking working with the financial industry. You ready to learn what your financial institution can do to help combat human trafficking? Then stay tuned. Human trafficking is a serious issue affecting the entire globe, and I'm a believer we should all do what we can to stop it. As I said, I recently had Sarah Crow from the Polaris Project on the Payments Podium, the Payments Professor podcast. And while recording that episode, I was completely blown away by how the financial industry plays a critical role in the detection of, and possibly the stopping of, human trafficking. So this video I've created to be able to help spread the word on what financial institutions can do to be able to stop human trafficking. First of all, do you realize that it can be actually hard to prosecute human traffickers? Why? Well, because cases rely on the victims. But human trafficking is by definition a commercial enterprise, and that actually helps to differentiate it from other crimes like assault. So one of the ways it's found to be successful in prosecuting human trafficking is the Al Capone approach. If you don't know, Al Capone was an infamous, vicious gangster in the 20s and 30s. That was eventually brought down by being found guilty of tax evasion. Here was someone who was committing all kinds of heinous crimes, but he was finally stopped for financial crimes, for tax evasion. That's what they finally convicted him for. Well, the same can be true for human trafficking and within that industry. Being able to identify and track the financial crimes like money laundering and tax evasion can help stop them. Financial institutions can play a critical role in helping identify the data and information needed by law enforcement to help stop human trafficking. There are two main areas of human trafficking: sex trafficking and labor trafficking. So we're going to start and focus on labor trafficking. The other one's going to be coming up though, just be warned, all right? So labor trafficking. Is there force, fraud, or coercion used to make people work? With labor trafficking, you may have a business that appears legitimate. For example, maybe it's in landscaping, hospitality, or migrant work, as those actually do tend to be the most common areas we see this. Industries like agriculture, landscaping, and hospitality, they employ large numbers of workers. And those workers, a lot of them are on temporary visas or may have taken the job after being duped by predatory recruitment practices. So what are the things to be on the lookout for? As a financial institution, you want to look at things like transaction monitoring. That can be a little tricky, but it's an area that financial institutions do have an opportunity to spot human trafficking, and it is really highly done at onboarding of clients. You need to really, during the onboarding process, ask more about the company's labor practices. Do they have HR policies? Do they have policies on recruiting workers to prohibit paying of fees to keep their job? Can they demonstrate that they process payroll regularly? Are they paying equivalent to similar businesses in that industry and in that area? Are they paying workers' comp insurance? Can they provide proof? At the account opening stage or the onboarding stage, these shouldn't be hard questions to answer or to even prove, but you need to make sure that you have policies and procedures in place that are saying to look for these things. Something else you can do is an on-site visit. In the pandemic times, not something you may want to do, but it helps. And while you're doing an on-site visit, look for evidence that employees, are they maybe sleeping or living on site? Are people doing their laundry there? Are they, like I said, living there? What's the general safety and hygiene and sanitation look like? Is safety equipment paid for and provided by the company, or are employees required to purchase it on their own? Are they forced to purchase through the company and pay higher than usual prices, maybe even interest rates on the purchase itself? Are there so many deductions that the employee is becoming indebted to the employer? Money remittance services looking for evidence for paying back a debt can help. Lots of people from the same workplace paying money to a singular company or person. That's another red flag to be on the lookout for. And I mentioned it, sex trafficking. The use of certain websites can be in play here. Those transactions with those sites can be identified with keywords. Sites actually go to great lengths though to hide those transactions, but there are ways to detect them. Looking at the descriptions, the merchant codes. Are there a lot of travel and transportation costs that are typically associated with as well, like booking of flights for multiple unrelated people? Unusual amounts of prepaid activity. Lots of prepaid cards to avoid detection. Unusual deposits using multiple ATMs, or ride sharing after midnight. Lots of ride sharing at unusual hours. In those massage businesses, they may have unusual patterns like transactions regularly occurring outside of normal hours. Now you may be asking, are there any resources out there to help a financial institution to learn and do more to stop human trafficking? The answer is there definitely is. During the podcast, I learned about the Intersections report that is available on polarisproject.org. Go download the report and read it. There's a section just on financial institutions. I got a lot out of it. There's also the organization OSCE, and they have the Following Money step-by-step guide into trafficking with human beings. Check it out as well. Lots of great information. And there is the FAST organization. From them, you can get access to the Toolkit for Financial Institutions and Investigations, certified anti-money laundering. What financial institutions really need to do is work with each other in these organizations. It is through collaboration. It is sitting down with the experts and learning from them on what you can do to be able to play your part. And as we end this video, as we end this class, there's one thing I have to say that stuck out the most from learning about human trafficking and what the financial industry can do. And that was, while recording the podcast, Sarah's closing comments, including her saying, "You can't just implement the list and be done. We need to evolve." That struck a chord with me because for years, I've seen in institutions where people just go down the checklist, and as long as everything is checked, then it's okay. Now, I'm not saying that this is wrong, but what I would challenge all of you out there to do is to know, and I mean truly know, what is happening at each step of the checklist. I've been in situations many times over the years where I would ask somebody, "Why did you just do that step? Or that part of the checklist, why are you doing that?" And almost every time they would look at me and say, "Because it says to." But what I wanted to know was, why did they do that? Did they actually understand what they were doing? What was happening? Did they know why it was being performed? Or did they know what would happen if that step was missed? Did they know what was normal or what would be out of normal? For years I told people that knowing what is happening, that will help if you are ever in a disaster recovery mode, if you're ever initiating a pandemic plan, but it will also help in identifying potential losses, areas where money could be saved, steps that could be eliminated, and improve processing while also saving time. It could also help you to identify and stop potential fraud. And now, now I'm going to be telling people, be more aware of how things work within your institution and what your account holders are doing. And your understanding of those processes and what is normal and what's out of the norm, well, it could potentially save a life and help stop human trafficking. If you'd like more, if you want more information, if you want to make a difference, then I encourage you, go learn more at the polarisproject.org website. On their website, again, they had the publication. It's called On-Ramps, Intersections, and Exit Routes, a roadmap for systems and industries to prevent and disrupt human trafficking. There's an entire section dedicated to the financial industry. So if you are a bank, fintech, a regulator, a credit union, or anyone working in the world of electronic payments, then please go learn more and see what you can do within your organization to stop these horrific crimes. I'm the Payments Professor, and if there's anything else I can do to be able to help you to learn more about this, you can email me, kevin@paymentsprofessor.com, or you can send me a message on LinkedIn or YouTube, leave a comment, hit the like button, all of that. Let's do what we can to be able to stop human trafficking.